The recording.
You're good.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the first combined campus answer hour for insurers, self-insurers, third-party administrators, and for EDI trading partners. Based upon your feedback from our prior polling, indicating an overlap in both audience and in content discussed between the two prior separately held answer hours for these groups, you will note that today is the first session combining both audiences. And then, as was requested, we will continue to offer a combined answer hour moving forward. My name is Denise Holmes, and I am a Senior Compliance Officer or CSO in the Compliance, Records, and Training or CRT Department here at the Minnesota Department of Labor and Industry. And we also have with us co-hosting today CRT Management Analyst John Brothen. In addition, we also have a broad range of panelists joining us today to help answer your questions and share their campus knowledge, including CRT Director Chris Leifeld, CRT Work Comp Program Supervisors Ralph Hapness, Melissa Parrish, Mike Solheid. We also have from Minnesota Information Technology Units, Andrew Kobrick, and also campus subject matter experts Lisa Smith and Cheryl Sherbel. Joining our meeting later on today, we will have Special Compensation Fund Supervisor Tom Hansen joining to field any questions involving SCF matters. Just a reminder that this meeting today is being recorded so that it can be posted for your access to refer back to in future if you need. Please also note that for audio purposes, all attendees are on mute. So if you have a question that arises during this meeting, please just type it into the chat box. Senior CSO Virginia Prax will be coordinating those chat box questions today to ensure that your inquiries are addressed. She will also be sharing some helpful campus links in the WebEx chat box, so you may want to take a peek and cut and paste any links for your future reference. So you can see today that the agenda starts off with a summary of the most recent campus release updates. And then I will confirm the main current campus known issues so that you're aware of some items that we continue to work on. John Brothen will then address our future combined campus answer hour sessions, and he will provide the Campus Central webpage link, which is where you can sign up for future answer hours once they're scheduled, find all the prior recording, training, and event video links, and other helpful campus resource materials. And then lastly, we will conclude by opening this forum to any remaining questions you may have. Regarding the most recent campus release, so there was an issue where when viewing the claim shell, some users noted the data fields for SSN, WID number, and/or the PIN values appeared blank, although the data had already been manually entered during the creation of the claim shell. This issue has been corrected. So the SSN, WID number, and/or PIN should now display correctly on the claim shell view. Another issue was that the claim benefits tab was not populating on a claim after IP initial payment and SX suspension EDI transactions. The update is that the claim benefits tab on the claim details page is now populating correctly. In addition, when attempting to download certain legacy documents, the document was saving as a blank PDF file, causing an inability to view the information contained in the document. This has been resolved. Now when legacy documents are downloaded, saved, and opened, they do display the information contained in the document. So some of the current main issues that are known with campus include there have been some reports that JCNs, jurisdiction claim numbers, have more than one IP initial payment and SX suspension form appearing for a single transaction. There also has been an issue with the display benefit descriptions on the NOPLD and discontinuance documents generated, but not the codes. So we want to confirm that we are aware of these issues and they continue to be worked on to be resolved as quickly as possible. We thank you for your calls into the campus help desk to report these issues and offer your feedback. Please do continue to share with us any other issues that you are experiencing in the campus system so that we're notified that a particular issue exists and then we can address it. So moving along to our next agenda topic. John, did you want to take the floor?
Thank you, Denise. Hello, everyone. Just as a reminder, as Denise said earlier, as we recall, we used to have a different answer hour specifically for EDI questions. But since we were getting such a overlap between this answer hour and the EDI answer hour, we're combining them this week and going forward. So if your organization had any individuals who were just looking for that EDI answer hour, going forward, you can point them in the direction of this answer hour, and we can basically answer all those same questions they would have had in that more specific time slot in this one as well. So again, DLI really does value everyone's feedback. Our stakeholders have been very important in providing us great information, topics for these answer hours, and we appreciate all the questions that we get submitted in the chat box. I think going forward, we're still going to look at the same schedule. Probably within 2 weeks, we'll try and schedule this same answer hour again so that everyone can check in again and hear more about our updates from campus. We can go to the next slide, Denise. There should be a release, a campus release going out tonight. Everyone who's signed up for the emails, those emails typically come through Friday afternoons describing the specifics of what occurred in the release. But of course, there's always the Campus Central webpage. And those of you who can, we can navigate to our website and go to the Campus Central webpage, and that's where you can see all the information related to campus that is important, or that's all the updates that are happening, and as well as some other good information that can help you with how to navigate through campus and all the issues that you may have. So with that, I think, swinging back to Denise, I think we can see if we have some questions.
Great, thanks, John. So now we will open the forum for our panelists to answer any audience questions on the campus system. Please put your inquiries in the chat box and Virginia will monitor to ensure that we address your questions. Panelists, just a friendly reminder, please make sure you're unmuted now so that your responses can be heard by the audience.
Good morning, everyone. This is Virginia. We've got one in the chat already from Angela. She's wondering, are there any plans to include a JCN lookup in the future, similar to the WID lookup? So is anyone aware of that enhancement? Oh, so sorry, go ahead.
No, that's okay. This is Melissa Parrish. Hi, everyone. I do not know of any plans for that specifically, but I think that's a really great feedback item. So I was just sitting here taking a note on that we will write that down. So if they haven't received that feedback yet, we'll make sure that they do, that the program does. And we will certainly update you guys if we hear anything back on that in time for the next meeting, but we'll follow up on that. So thank you.
Sounds good. And then we've got a question on how would they report in the following situation? Claim is received, investigated, and accepted. While being investigated, the employee was off work and released to return to work. The employee is a part-time worker, so released to return to work full duty multiple days prior to their next scheduled shift, so only owed 2 days TTD of the days missed due to the waiting period. However, no actual return to work, but no additional TTD is owed. But the IP and SX are not filed since the investigation was continuing.
So this is Melissa again. And if I'm looking at the question here to make sure I'm following that correctly, but from what I hear is that the employee missed 2 days. So there were 2 claimed days of lost time or wages, and then they returned to work at their normally scheduled schedule, and that's fine if it's a part-time schedule or an irregular schedule. So the question here would be, was that time really within the waiting period? Because of course, if they're a part-time worker and they missed time on Monday and their next scheduled shift was, let's say, a Friday, and they missed that time, That would be outside of the waiting period because the waiting period in Minnesota being 3 consecutive calendar days, starting with that first date of claimed lost time. In that case, there is there is claimed lost time outside the waiting period. So whether or not it ends up being paid or denied, of course, you do your investigation on, but it would become a reportable claim. If the schedule was such where the lost time is actually all within the waiting period, which I think is what is being asked here, and there's no claimed lost time or wages outside the waiting period, it is not a claim that would need to be reported to us unless one of the other requirements was in place in this claim. So if there's litigation, if there's rehab, or maybe future PPD owed. But if truly if those situations don't come into play and the only claimed lost time is within that 3 calendar day waiting period, it's not a reportable claim to us. So I'm hoping I answered that correctly.
Yeah,
Nope.
if that first part helped, Kristen was clarifying that 2 days are payable in addition to the waiting period.
Gotcha. Okay, so I apologize, I misread that. So if there are days payable, and claim lost time, obviously in that case, outside the waiting period, it is a reportable claim to us, and there is a first action due within that 14-day timeline. The 14 days or 14 calendar days from the date, the first day of claim lost time, or the date the employer was aware of that lost time, whichever happens later. And so if your investigation is continuing, well, by statute, you have those 14 days. And if that means that you make payments and then later deny it, that's an option that you might take. You might deny the claim and then later pick it up. Of course, we need the denial to be factual and legal and specific and all those things. So you will sometimes find yourself in a situation where you're having to make that judgment call, but it is reportable and you would file your first action, which might be that IP for the payment. It might be an 04 for a denial, depending on the claim. And I think was part of
can
that
I
about,
clarify? This is
yeah,
Kristen.
please.
So exhausted waiting period, 2 days payable. I'm investigating the claim. It's accepted. Now, how do you want me to tell you that I'm suspending the benefits? Because she did not actually return to work on the next day after the 2 days that are payable.
Gotcha.
But there were
So-
only 2 days payable, only
Yep,
2
so-
shifts missed.
So, yep, if those 2 days were payable, so you would have filed an IP, or you would need to file the IP to show your payment, and then you would need to suspend the benefits. So EDI wise, you need to file that suspension, the SX. But then if you're doing it for reasons other than return to work, which in this case it sounds like you would also follow up with that discontinuance web form to explain the reasons why the benefits are being discontinued, and you could attach your documentation to that web form.
So I follow that, but they only missed the 2 shifts. So how do I, and the claim was still being investigated. So how would I only pay the 2 shifts that were missed while the claim was being investigated? And then, because there's nothing more was owed, but it was still under investigation.
I mean, if you're making payment, it sounds like the waiting period was met, and then you had 2 days that you're making payment for. So you've accepted liability for those days and are making payment, right?
Yep.
Yep. So you would show the payment on the IP, and then if you're discontinuing that payment, you'd go ahead and file the suspension and the discontinuance. If you then do more investigation or get for more information and you end up, let's say, wanting to do a primary denial, you'd be able to file the 04 after that to
No,
show your denial.
I'm not looking to deny it. It's an accepted claim. I just don't want to pay TTD beyond the shifts that were missed. So
Sure. So that's where you would suspend the benefits with the SX, and then because it's for reasons other than return to work, you would file the discontinuance web form to explain that reasoning to us.
And you
And
would
to the
accept that I
employee.
only paid the 2 days versus additional days that they didn't work? Like I wouldn't have to pay through today's date or whatever date it is.
So, I mean, by statute, you do pay through the date of service to the employee. So you'd want to go ahead and file that quickly, and timely. If there are more dates that they had missed in the meantime, then we're going to get kind of into a compliance case, and we might want to take it offline and talk with or Ralph, if you're on and you want to jump in and talk. Otherwise, go ahead and email, probably starting with the help desk, and we can get you to a compliance officer to talk specifically about that case. I don't want to talk too much in generalizations because it really is going to be fact dependent, but it sounds like this is getting a little more complicated. So if that's okay, can you email the help desk and we can get you to the right compliance officer to talk about the case? specifically? Okay, great. Thank you. Sorry that it took me a
Yep.
roundabout way to get to an answer to that one.
All righty, thank you both. Another question, any update on the issue regarding not authorized to access page?
Hi, this is Chris Liefeld. I can address that. That issue, John, will be addressed tonight with tonight's release.
Okay, thanks, Chris. And the next one is more of a is indicated that it's a suggestion. Would love to be able to look up a claim in Campus that searches all groups included under my admin responsibility. I have 32 groups, and when a claim examiner needs a file assigned to them, I have to search all groups until I find the claim. This can be extremely time consuming. Also, I would love to be able to have a search filter by employer. So obviously something we can take down unless somebody has any information that something's in the works on that one, or that's kind of a captured suggestion or issue already.
Yeah, this is Melissa again. I believe the 32 groups is kind of ringing some bells in my head here, that I believe this is part of a consolidation that is being worked on to get you down from 32 groups, because yes, that is absolutely a lot of effort to look through 32 groups in those cases. So I think that's part of an ongoing effort to get that consolidated a little bit more, but Tammy, we can certainly touch base. If you have my email address directly, go ahead. Otherwise, feel free to reach out to the help desk and they can get it my way. Outside of that, as far as being able to look for it, I think by, did you say by employer? Now I'm looking in the chat here, or in the chat here, but to have more options for how to search is certainly feedback that we can pass along, because I think that functionality and that flexibility is useful for you guys. So we'll take that down as well, as far as having more options of how to search and find things efficiently.
Yep. And then there's kind of an add-on comment from Mike that that he agrees with that suggestion, and that indicating he regularly helps on EDI transactions for his carrier, but cannot look up a file in Campus unless he's assigned to it. You know, again, it would help if he could look up a claim that's not assigned to him, but within the same carrier or admin group. So we obviously have that feedback. Thank you.
That's good to hear. And actually, one thing, if I can, that I'll mention, because this might not apply specifically to you, Mike. I'm hopeful that it would, but I think this might be helpful for others to know as well. Because if you are assigned to a claim and it's on your dashboard, of course, that's helpful, so you can look at it right there on your dashboard. But we certainly know there are claims that you might not be specifically assigned to. But if you have, like, for example, if you are helping with the EDI and if you have global claim access on any of your groups that the claim belongs to, another way you can look for a claim, instead of just looking right on your dashboard, go up to the corner where your name is on the upper right, click on your name and my groups. It'll take you to a page where your one group, if you're a member of one group, or your multiple groups are listed, and whatever group that claim is associated to, if you click on that entity and look at that entity's related claims, there's a tab of related claims, you can filter from there. And again, it does depend on your permission. So like if you have global permission, but aren't specifically assigned to the claim, you would be able to find the claim that way. So Mike, I used your comments as a starting point for that comment. I don't know if this will solve it for you specifically, but hopefully that helps some other people on the phone as well.
Thanks, Melissa. Another question in the chat, is there any enhancements scheduled to add the date served? Oh.
To the NOID paper forms, I think your comments might have updated. I think I still see it here.
Yep, thanks.
Since
Mine jumped on me.
Yep. Yeah, so any enhancement scheduled to add the date served to the NOID paper form, so the bounce back forms. So a couple of thoughts on that. Yes, we are working on adding a date, and it's not necessarily the date served. It would be the date that we are accepting the filing, if it's being accepted and not rejected, of course. And the reason is I'm just specific on the wording there with date served, because the date served, just because you submit the EDI filing today using today's date, the date served isn't a data element that you guys are reporting to us. It's not part of that IAIBC guide. It's not a data element with the IAIBC. So it wouldn't say date served. It will say the date. I don't know if I know the exact wording off the top of my head, but essentially the date that we've received the filing, and we are working to add that to the paper forms, including the NOID.
Thanks, Melissa. We inquired with the help desk on a discontinuance not generating in campus and were instructed to file it manually, but no time frame was given for how long we should do manual filings or if on each claim we need to check to see if the form generates in campus. If it does not, then contact the help desk to determine if this is still an issue and then file it manually.
Yeah, so there are some known issues with those bounce back forms. In this case, if it's a discontinuance, and I know we've shown this before and we can do it again if it's helpful for people, but in the EDI guide, and I think it's either starting page 7 or 13, I forget which, but has that kind of chart of the different EDI filings and yes or no if a form is created. So you can always check there to see if a form should be created. If a form should have been created, a bounce back should have been created and it wasn't, or in some cases, if it was missing information, we've had that situation come up. We're working on some solutions to that and some fixes. But the workaround right now is that you still have to file the EDI filing. That's how, the filing comes in. But to get that actual document so you can copy or serve the employee as required, you can use the old paper forms that are still available on our website to upload to the claim and actually serve on the employee. So when you submit a filing, depending on the way your trading partner is set up and how you receive those bounce back forms. But if you're missing one, that is what you would need to do. I don't think you would need to contact the help desk for that. I'm trying to think quick in my head if there's a reason you would specifically need to. Obviously, if you have a question or an ongoing concern about it, or just a question of if the file or if the document was created or not, you can certainly reach out to us. Or yes, it would be in the file, or if it's not there, and if it wasn't created, it's not coming back in your acknowledgement, for example, then go ahead and use that workaround for now. And it is something that is actively being worked on and lots of conversations happening because we do know that there are some ongoing issues with that.
Okay, thank you. Another suggestion, I would like to be able to search by claim admin claim number and claimant name. Any plans to add that function?
So we did specifically talk about adding the search capabilities, and what we have heard with campus is that it would be the filter capabilities and not a search capability. But what we could work towards hopefully is expanding when you're looking at the table of claims, for example, like my claims on your dashboard, or if you do go into your group and you see the related claims for your specific group, that sort of thing, you can filter by the different columns that are there. So if there isn't a column for claim admin claim number, for example, you can't filter by it. So if that's missing somewhere, we want to work to add that so you can at least filter by that that helpful claim admin claim number or employer or whatever the case may be. So in this case, I think it was claim admin claim number and claimant name were the two I think listed. That yeah. I know the claim admin claim number is listed, I think, on most of the tables that we would talk about, although if it's missing on one, we can certainly take that down to try and add it in. And for the name, I believe we had some feedback to change the name to like last comma first, so you can search, or excuse me, filter more easily by the last name. But the actual search functionality, I don't think is right now being planned for at least not in the near future for a release.
This is Bridget. I just wanted to state quickly that the claim admin claim number is not a column or a filterable feature on our regular desktops. And that's where it would be most useful to use the claim admin claim number for an adjuster to try to look up their claim from the desktop from my claims. So it is missing from there, and that has been reported previously.
Thank you, Bridget, for that clarification. So then when you log into your, yep, actually, so I'm just logging into the test account so I can remind myself of what it looks like as well. So yep, I see there's the JCN number, also the campus file number, the employee, which right now does show the last first, so that's good. Employer, date of injury, oh, CACN. I show that in test, but I wonder if that is an update. Ralph, John, anyone else on the call, if you happen to know off the top of your head, but Bridget, are you saying when you first log in and on your dashboard under the My Claims tab, the claim admin claim number is not a column? Is that what I'm hearing?
That's correct.
Okay, and so my dashboard I'm looking at is a trading partner one, and that might also account for my view versus some of the others. So
That
I
is
will make a
correct.
note of
The
that.
trading
Okay.
partners does have that as an option, but if you're just a regular adjuster and not in the trading
Gotcha.
partners group, you don't have it. You only
Okay,
have
so
campus file number, which we're not going to know until we look at it in campus. Employee, employer, claim admin, which is the actual administrator, not the number, date of injury, and status.
perfect. Thank you so much. That extra explanation helps a lot. So when you are not on the trading partner profile or dashboard, which obviously if you're not a member of that group, you wouldn't be. So for the non-trading partner dashboards, we need to look at adding that claim admin claim number to the My Claims table so that you can filter by that. Right, I've got it down. We'll bring that back to the program. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Kind of a follow-up comment from Tammy. She's indicating there's no way to know what group a claim is in. Like when I get a request for information, there's nothing on the request that indicates to me what group the claim may be found in.
And hello, this is Tammy. The only reason I added on to my prior request or wish list was because there was I believe in an explanation, a comment made to go to the group that the claim is in. However, there's never anything for me to know that until I do my search through all my groups. And even when I go to the group initially under my name and the drop down, there's nothing right there that even tells me the ID number for that group. I had put in a request and I know that y'all did try to add the ID number for me and it didn't work. So I would imagine other admins have that same issue. I can see my whole list of groups. They're all called the exact same thing for our TPA. And until I click into that group, I don't know what the group ID number is, and I don't know whether the file that I need to find is in there or not. So it, like I said, it can be hit or miss, and sometimes I'm on the 30-second group before I find a claim that I need to assign to someone. So that was just my request, I guess.
Yep, thanks, Tammy. And that does make sense. And unfortunately, you're definitely probably on the far end of that spectrum as far as you do have so many groups, and part of that consolidation effort that is, I know there were recent comments and discussion on that, so I know it hasn't obviously been resolved yet for you, but it is being worked on. That's specific to your group with having so many groups, that's an issue. The feedback with adding that number is helpful, and I'll double check on that, because if you've sent that in before, it should be logged, but I can look that up and see where it is and if there's anything I can do to kind of nudge it along to see if there's a resolution available for that. But I think with your specific case, part of that will be helped immensely when we can get the consolidation down to not have those 32 groups. Because you're right, yeah, it's not like and then that reminds me, the other part of that being, like, when you do get a request, that's timely feedback for us as well, as we look to make those email communications hopefully be as effective as possible. That's something we can look at. Is there any information we can put on there relative to the group it's in, so that could be helpful information right in that email, so we can make note of that as well.
Great, thank you for the additional info or feedback and clarifications. That's always helpful. We've got another question or comment here on the request for information notices that come from campus. Can they possibly include our claim admin claim number so we can easily identify, since all our claim handlers have global claims access?
I do know that specific feedback has been discussed. In fact, it's been brought to our legal department. So of course, and I know, as you all know, and I know you know, a lot of the what can and can't be in that communication, that email is simply a matter of data privacy. And so we can't put a lot of information on there. Of course, we're not going to be sending out emails with names and SSN numbers and this and that, but claim admin claim number is different from that. And so that has been brought to our legal departments. I don't know off the top of my head where that has landed, but do know that we are pursuing that because we have heard from other people as well that having that claim admin claim number especially would be helpful on that communication. So hopefully we'll have a follow-up on that soon. I'll look into that one as well.
Great, thanks, Melissa. Another question, if a user has global claim access, why can't they access the claim within that group? They have to be assigned as a party to the claim. Our setup is to have multiple adjusters working on a file, and we have to daily add all users to each claim. This causes some system notices to go to all users. Couldn't we have a setting where if the user is in the group, they have access to all claims in that group?
Yes. So if you're assigned to a claim, it should come up on your dashboard. If you're not specifically assigned to the claim, but you have global claim access, what you should be able to do, and if you guys have tried this and it isn't working, then we need to, mark this down and look at it to see if there's what the bug is or what the issue is. But you, as that user, if you're not specifically assigned to the claim, but you have global access, you can go to your name in the top right into my groups. And, hopefully you don't have the 32 groups, but if you have one or two groups and one of the groups, for example, is the TPA or the insurer handling the claim, if you click on that group name and then go to the tab that says related claims, you should be able to filter down to that claim on that screen and have access to it because you do have the global access. Now that said, if that is not working for your members and they're not able to follow that path and find the claims, connect with the help desk with some specifics or some information, or at least just to start the conversation with us, because what we can do is double check the permissions that the user has or users have and go from there as far as if there's an ongoing issue that we can solve or if it's just a permissions situation that we can quickly fix.
Thanks, Melissa. Another question, on a claim with a loss date in 1999, the permanent total disability benefit ceased at age 67 based on 176101 sub 4. Does a form need to be filed in campus? And if so, please advise on which form.
Yeah, if you have ongoing permanent total benefits that you are discontinuing or suspending based on that statute, you would be able to file the suspension, the SX filing. And then also, because this would be one of those cases where you're suspending benefits for reasons other than return to work, you're using the statutory language here, based on the date of injury, of course, to state here's why we're discontinuing. You would also follow up with that discontinuance web form where you could then put in that language and, of course, as usual, put in attachments as needed or whatnot to show us the suspension date and the reason for that.
Great, thank you. Kind of a follow-up comment from Stephanie. She'll follow up with her group but it seems more often than not, the adjuster doesn't have access unless they're added, but she'll get examples. So she appreciates your information. And then another question, is there a way to tell which claims have a member with access when on the group case and claim access management screen without looking at each claim? I can't tell which claims are new from those that already have an adjuster with access.
That's a good question. I'm trying to think through this. I know, so if you are a group administrator, you would be able to go through, in the screen there to the managed case claim access and see who's on it. And I think that's what you're alluding to. Is this from Linda? That you probably have, that's what you're already doing, like individually on the claim, and you're trying to find a better way to see. Okay, new claims. So a couple of thoughts on this. One, and this might not solve your issue, but probably is worth mentioning, that we did have the improvement go through where, as far as assigning an individual and adjuster to a claim, when you are submitting your SHROIs, your EDI SHROIs, and part one required field is that claim admin, claim rep name and email and phone, the email that comes in, if it matches a user in campus and is part of the group that is assigned to the claim, so, you know, obviously has to have the right permission there. But if that email address, so if it's me, if it's Melissa Parrish at whatevercompany.com, and that matches my login in Campus, Campus will now automatically assign that claim to me, so you don't have to manually do it. So I'm hoping that helps with some of this to get the adjuster that you're submitting on the SHROI to be automatically assigned to the claim for new claims. Beyond that, I don't know a way off the top of my head other than going through that assigned claim case access. I don't know if any of the entity folks or anyone else on the call have other ideas. But that is the only way I know to do it beyond the SHROI submissions.
Okay, well, I was thinking maybe you could add like a column that just had like a check mark so you could tell which ones already had someone with access. Otherwise, you really can't tell. You have to kind of go by memory and try to remember which ones are new in your group from day to day.
Sure. So thinking this through, and I'm looking at my test environment again. So if I'm in my group and an insurer group right now, and I look at the claims tab, and you can kind of click the little box next to it independently to see who has access or not. But you're saying on that table that if we could add a column that had like a yes, no indicator of if anyone is assigned to it or not, or if it's like a new claim.
Yes, if anyone was
Okay.
assigned.
Gotcha.
Because we go
Okay,
in and look for the new ones on a daily basis and try to get the appropriate adjuster assigned to them so
Gotcha.
that it'll show up on their dashboard. Now I can look into what's going on with our EDI transactions, but I think we could be using a generic email, like a claims department email, rather than the personal email of the adjuster. So the match isn't going to
Yes.
happen.
Correct. If you use kind of that more generic email address, the match wouldn't happen. If you are able to use the email address for the adjuster, then that would happen automatically and you wouldn't need to go into the table. However, we can still take the feedback down to see if we could add a column just to indicate kind of yes, no, has anyone been assigned?
Okay, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Oh, it helps if I
Virginia?
unmute. This is Virginia. That's it, Denise and John, for right now. There are no other comments or questions or suggestions in the chat.
Okay, John, our panelists, does anybody have any closing remarks that they want to share?
Oh, this is Virginia. We do have one more added in the chat. You've listed 2 known issues today. There have been many other items noted and reported. Can updates be provided on the other issues or plans to work on them at our next call? For example, campus documents that are populating incorrectly, CBs, uploading document naming options, adding roles for parties that need to be manually added to a case. For example, an attorney, no role for attorney.
Yeah, I think bottom line is, yes, we can have updates on some of those known issues. I know on Campus Central, there was supposed to be, or was at one point, kind of an ongoing list of known issues. I believe that was meant to also have updates. I'll acknowledge that I have not gone and looked myself, so I don't know if that's been helpful or updated lately. But that's something I think our group can certainly talk about and find a way, the best way to update, whether it be on the next call with some of these issues, or if those updates on Campus Central aren't or not being updated, maybe that's a place that it could also be. So I think that that's good feedback, Bridget, that we can come back on that. And actually, can I jump in with one update as well, as long as I'm here talking again? I did get some confirmation that the JCN search is already in feedback. So we do have a ticket already listed to see if there could be a JCN search specific. So that came up, I think, at the beginning of the call, and I just wanted to note that that has been recorded. So thank you.
Thanks, Melissa. Another comment, rather than the generic email notices, has DLI given any thought to creating a secure email process? as would be allowed under 176-285 sub 2B B. This may help get clearer data out.
This is where I wish we had a program person on who maybe knew a bit more about the IT side of things. I don't know that I'm the best spokesperson for that, or knowing all the ins and outs of that process versus what we're doing now. But John, I'll certainly we'll take that question, and I believe there were many different options that were looked at as far as security and what could be done with secure email notices. But I will follow up with that, and if that has not been reviewed yet, I'll make sure it gets into someone's hands who can properly review it. So I apologize, I don't have a really great answer for that right now, but it's a good question and I will follow up on it.
Thanks, Melissa. Yep, and we certainly appreciate all the comments, suggestions, and your continued concerns coming in. That's it for right now in the chat. Denise?
Okay. John or panelists, did you have anything you wanted to add? Okay, if not, then we'll conclude this meeting. Thanks to everyone for taking the time to join us today. Have a great day.